So as you can see, this week's topic is the top 5 checklist tricks. So this is kind of part of our top 5 series. And just like last week, we ended up with a few more than 5. So we do have a few little bonus ones that I'll just breeze through at the beginning because most of them are ones that you either know or have heard me say before and are probably tired of hearing me say. So I'll breeze right through those again because they're pretty basic, but definitely are checklist tricks that you need to know. So I don't want to overlook those. So let me hop over to Pipeline. So like I mentioned, I'm going to go over a few things that you're probably already aware of. So I'm only going to spend about a minute or two on those so that we can get into the pretty exciting stuff. I'm a tiny bit biased that relate to the really cool tricks that you can do with checklists. Okay, so first I wanted to make sure that you're aware of, let me head over to this one. Just making sure you're aware of the basics, which are definitely set your checklists up to be automatically assigned. Will save you a ton of time all the time. Your checklist will come down automatically with any relative due dates that you've assigned for them, with any visibility settings that you've assigned for them, etc. So set those up to be automatically added to your transactions and save both you and your team a ton of time there. Obviously, you know about these manipulation options, being able to drag your checklist to different positions if you're working on a particular one. You can obviously also collapse and expand these if you're only working on a particular one, etc. So manipulating your checklist for sure. Sorting by date, be sure if you want to look at items that are due in a particular order, you can sort those by date. And again, pretty sure you're tired of me talking about this, but dragging and dropping your checklists. So when you're sending a message, you can drag either individual tasks like this, right? Let's check a few of these off. Even checked items, drag them, or you can drag an entire checklist. Or you can drag individual items there. Okay, so it's super time saver instead of typing or trying to copy and paste stuff to be able to drag those over. Alrighty. And then last little sort of honorable mention that I wanted to go over before we dive into the deep stuff is the doc name matching. I'm sure you all know this because again, I talk about it probably way too much. Let me collapse that. And let's say I'm on this transaction. So let's say I have this mole disclosure and I'm about to go ahead and take a look at it, make sure everything looks okay. When I click on it, notice what happens over on the left, right? It'll jump down and find the matching doc or anywhere where this doc name is contained in this task name, okay? Making it super easy for me to find the matching doc that I'll need to ultimately check off, okay? Well, it's not a mole disclosure, but you get the point, right? And then in the very near future, we'll also be adding the ability to do that reverse doc name matching. So let's say you're the managing broker and you come here and you wanna take a look at all of the tasks that have docs that have been completed for them. You'll be able to click somehow on this particular task name and all of the matching docs over here will be highlighted. And you'll be able to, we'll have protocol for how you discern what the final version of that doc is if there are multiple. But again, having that reverse doc naming is going to be a great feature, okay? So those are the ones I sort of didn't want to go over. You saw how I did that anyway, but so that we can go into the really exciting ones, because again, pretty sure you all know all of those and are doing them already, right? Yes. Okay, so first one I wanted to go over, I'm not going to dive deeply into this one either because we've already went over this in a sneak preview or a sneak peek and in our What's New webinar a couple weeks ago. So be sure to check out those videos over on the Paperless Pipeline recordings page on our help site to take a look at those if you want to learn more about the how to @mention people in your tasks in order to assign those tasks to them, okay? And just to take a quick look here, if I'm on my tasks page, actually let me head back to a different tab I've got open here. If I'm on my tasks page and I'm viewing my @mentioned tasks, only I would be able to see those, others would not. Other agents, other admins would not be able to see them if they're not @mentioned, okay? With the exception of master admins, they can see everything. But again, it allows you to use @mentioned to assign tasks to specific people or to specific roles or groups of people, okay? And along with that, we had our hide @mentioned text feature, which is why I can't see the actual @mentions here. But it allows, as you can see, it keeps your task names a lot cleaner. Okay, so that's the first item. Again, check out the video to see how to set those up, the other benefits of them, etc. If you want to, if you're not aware of how that works. So second thing I wanted to show you is how you can link your reference docs to your tasks. Now that you're able to include URLs in your task names, you can actually link to reference docs. So if you've got a doc assignment here in your tasks and you want to reference a particular doc, instead of telling them to go over and get it at the reference page or them needing to know that, you can actually link directly to that doc to make it easier for them. And they can go download it, get it executed, etc. And the way that you do that is to just include, let's go ahead and do that on, let's say this mole disclosure, using that same example. Let's say I wanted to link to this mole disclosure doc. So I'll head over to my reference page that I've got open over here. I've got a mole disclosure doc. I'll right click it and say copy this link address, okay? And then head back over to my transaction, and I'm going to edit this task name and say, paste the task name there, right? And maybe I'll add a little bit of visual help, okay? And then save that. So now this person can reference the doc directly from the task list. Now I did this on the transaction here. Ideally, you always want to do your changes if they're going to apply every time this task is on the list at the checklist template level, right? I'm just showing you here because we're on the transaction, but doing it over here on the checklist template level is more ideal. So if I had a mole disclosure here, I'd do it like that. And then that way, every time it's added, that link is already there, okay? So nice way of doing that. So then when they click on this, it's gonna open that in a separate tab. They've got it, they can download it, etc. So nice quick access to that. So that's one little trick there. I do recommend that if you do that, again, do it from the checklist template level, but also just to add some visual differentiation, you might want to maybe make these all caps, etc. Right? Tyler Lane one. Here's one where you can see a few tasks that have document links of them and how they're capitalized. This probably isn't my favorite thing to do because it adds a little more visual clutter than I like, but we've seen lots of offices for which that convenience of being able to click directly from the task is a huge deal, and they're willing to forego a bit of that cleanliness for that. So your call on that one. I always encourage to keep this list nice and clean just to make it easy to work through, but again, that depends on the value for you. Okay, so that is the second thing. Third thing I want to tell you about is that there is an option that exists on our end that we can set for you that allows you to show checklists from all locations. By default, you're already set to that, right? So when someone goes to add a checklist to a transaction, it automatically shows all the checklists in all locations. But if you would like for us to uncheck that for you so that it doesn't show all checklists in all locations when someone goes to add a transaction, we can do that. And then that way, when someone's on a transaction and they go to manually add a checklist, it'll only show checklists that are in that transaction's location. So right now, for example, this is the Broadway location, so it would only show me checklists that were for the Broadway location, which let's see if there are any. There are none. Okay, but you get the point, right? So again, if you wanted to isolate which checklists show up for any transaction in a particular location, you could just reach out to us, let us know, turn that setting off so that it only shows those for the particular location. And depending on your workflow, that could be beneficial for you. And you could even try it out, ask us to turn it on. If it doesn't work out for you, we can turn it back off. So whatever you'd like to do. Okay. Fourth thing I wanted to tell you about was advanced autofill tags. Some of you are aware that, well, a lot of you are aware that you can use autofill tags to use as placeholders in your, actually, let me head over to a different transaction here. To use autofill tags as placeholders in your messages, right? But you can use advanced autofill tags to reference some due dates or checklist names, etc., as autofill tags within your messages. Okay, so let's take a look at an example I've got here. Okay, so this message uses some advanced autofill tags that reference checklist data, right? So if I wanted to, for example, announce the due date or include the due date of this particular task or that particular task, I could do so by using these this method using the advanced autofill tags. And I'll show you where to get that in a moment, but just so that you can see, if I preview this message, these autofill tags will reference the actual due dates that exist up here for these particular matching tasks. Okay. So that can be really helpful, again, when you need to set up a template that references any of these due dates or even the checklist name, etc. Okay, and just to show you where to get those, if you head over to our help site, there's an autofill tags article that you can either manually search, or this autofill tag help link will take you to the same place. And down here, it's got the exact format that you need to put these advanced autofill tags in to reference specific checklist information. Okay, so those can be really, really beneficial. Okay, essentially they can help you create almost custom date fields by doing that, custom date fields for your message templates. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to show you, super duper cool, with a couple of warnings though, and that is the ability to add some visual indicators to your task. And I'm using that term to have sort of a technical way of referring to it, but essentially they're emojis. But visual indicator sounds a lot more official. Okay, so let's say, for example, I wanted to reference maybe or have a visual indicator for docs, or maybe for items that needed to be uploaded, or maybe for financial information, etc. I've got the ability to essentially categorize those using these emojis. So the way that I do it, let me head over to a different transaction here. I think I wanted to do that on this one, yes. Okay, so let's say I wanted to change this lead-based to have a little document icon in front of it. The way that I do it, and actually again, want to do these from the checklist template level, okay? Actually, let's do it from here to start. So let's say I wanted this seller's disclosure to have a little document icon to the left of it. So I put my cursor here. From a Windows machine, I would hold down my Windows key and tap the period. And from a Mac, I would hold down Command, Control, and then tap the space key, right? To initiate getting this emoji or visual indicator list here, right? So let's say I wanted to add a document icon. There's a little search icon down here. I can click search and then just start typing. So if I started typing doc, right? There are some document icons, okay? And then click it and it inserts it into there. So I can put a space there, or however I want to do it. Maybe I want to add another one here. So I can either copy and paste that, or I can do the same thing again, add the little Windows icon plus the period. Oops, sorry, move my cursor. Windows icon plus the period. And then go find that document again and insert it. Okay, and it looks like I wiped out the rest of my name here. So let's just do. Okay. Alrighty. I can also use any other emojis that exist there. Don't recommend getting too crazy because, again, this is our checklist. We want it to be as clean as possible. Don't want too much distraction from one task to another. So keeping it clean and simple is good. But again, you can see the visual benefit that you get from adding these icons there. So let's go ahead and save that template. And then look at a couple of other examples here. Okay, so I could use maybe some arrows, right? Maybe that indicate upload. I could use colors. Let me show you where those icons are. I'm going to edit just directly on this transaction so you can see. I'm going to do my Windows period. If you select the heart category down here and then scroll down below, there are a series of color dots, and those can just be really, really nice indicators. Okay, maybe I do green for this particular one and then a space. Okay, and close that. All right. So super nice way, again, of adding that visual reference so that people can see right away what those are. And again, you can use them. These are strictly text fields. Technically, these are characters or text. So essentially, it's allowing you that flexibility to use them however you need to. If that means that cat colors indicate something being assigned to a particular person, or the icons meaning something in particular, maybe you even use avatars if you really wanted to assign these to people in that way, although don't necessarily encourage that, particularly given that you can use @mention to assign now, including having the reminders go to the appropriate people, etc. But again, you've got that complete flexibility to use those icons however may be useful to you and your workflow and your team's workflow, okay? And those icons or those characters have a lot of application even beyond these tasks, and we'll go over that in a subsequent webinar, probably next week, because you can get massive benefit from that depending on where and what field you use those. Because again, these are just characters, so they can technically be used in any field, and wielding them to your advantage can be a real benefit. So we'll go over some other applications of that, but for now, being able to see how you can use them within tasks can be really, really helpful. And I showed you colors, arrows, you can use documents, you can use dollar symbols, anything that exists in that emoji list. But again, don't get too crazy with it. You know, if you imagine having, I'm just going to use some random ones here, you know, several different icons, it's not going to benefit you. I would stick with one, preferably a simple one that has some indication of what the particular task is about, rather than getting too crazy with those, because you always want to keep that list nice and clean. Okay, cool deal. All right, well, that's all I've got today for the top 5 checklist tricks.